My name is Bruce Kane. I'm the executive director here at the King's Art Center, and welcome to our first live virtual opening reception.
Well, you know, we got to make hay when the sun is shining.
Is that what it says? I'm not
make
that
lemonade
southern, or
when you have lemons. Yeah.
something to that effect. Anyhow, because we weren't able to gather publicly with a large group, we're gathering with a large group via Facebook and Instagram, and we're going to show you some terrific art by my friend, Sarah Geesey.
Hello.
Who's our tremendous creator, who's with us this evening. So, okay, well, let's kind of meander through and we'll come up with some more questions. So tell me what this is and why this is and where it came from.
Well, I have a hymnal addiction. I love a good thrift store. And every time I see one at a thrift store, I have to pick one up. I don't know. There's something. I think we started doing worship songs at church, you know, in the 80s. So I was born in 74. So there was a time that we sang hymns at church, and it was early times in my life. But they're all in me. Like you look at one of those, almost all of them. Some of them I don't necessarily remember, but I can sing all the words.
Right.
I mean, he punched me to victory. That's one of them that I would get the words wrong as a little child. I didn't know what plunged meant, but
Plunged,
you know, there's a couple, you know, that I had the words wrong, but they're all in me. So this is part of me reclaiming kind of the past, even though as my faith or my understanding of who God is and what church is has kind of evolved through the years. This is, you know, it's one way. I can start feeling a little judgmental of myself or of the church sometimes, but this is a way that I can reclaim that and celebrate it, because it's what's got me where I am today. So it's a celebration of that.
That's very cool. So, I noticed things like furniture over a hymn or a rabbit over a hymn. How did you choose which kinds of images you would reflect over each of those pieces?
Some of them are just, they came to me. Some of them, I make calendars each year. I've done that for the last, 4 years. I make calendars with these on each month. There's a hymnal page. Mm-hmm. So some of them I've found a hymn and a picture that kind of represents a month. So like the pumpkin on the chair, then obviously that's a fall, October.
Okay.
Or like the Christmas ones. There's some Christmas ones.
So my question, so I was a church kid too, and I have vivid memories of falling asleep on strangers' laps and waking up to hymns going on all around me. So in the church I grew up in, this song, All Fly Away, was vibrant and big and rambunctious. And you have this picture of this very peaceful guy relaxing in a hammock. And when I first pulled it out of the box, I thought, that is a strange juxtaposition.
Oh, interesting. No, I think it was definitely a rambunctious song for us too. We would sing it on the camp bus on the way to camp over and over, and we'd have all the harmonies and the I don't know if Lisa Smith is on or Lisa Peck is on, she will remember, and Michelle McGraw and Mickey Widmer. We would all
there's a group of people.
We would sing on the bus, and we would sing harmonies, and we would sing them all the little "I'll fly away, I'll fly away." So but I think in my rethinking of things, I'm not. It's a peaceful thing to think about. Someday this is going to be. It's not so much I'm like waiting for it, like, you know, I don't want to go right now. I'm at peace with that.
That's
so
cool.
that's where that comes from.
Well, while we're here, tell me about this piece, because it's right behind us and it has some powerful spiritual words connected to it.
Now this is one I did live at one of those conferences that I talked about. So I was at a conference called Current for Women. I'm on the board of this ministry, Jeff and Jill Ludlow, and Jill is the speaker, and she talks about all kinds of things. But this conference, I got her notes. Usually the process was I would get her notes beforehand, and then I would kind of plan out how I was going to do the painting according to what she was talking about. So I had 3 sessions, and first she was talking about how we're made with joyful things, like we're beautiful, we are made in God's image, and this was all full of like color, like you can see throughout here. It was really bright colors. And then the second session, we all went down, we all had cookies or whatever, and we came back, and she was talking about how, but we believe lies, and we allow that to cover who we were made to be. So I just started putting this black over the top of the the colors, and I had somebody punch me at the end. She was like, "What are you doing?" It was a, fun punch, but she was like, and you could hear people go, "Oh, why did you do that?" So I put the gray black over the top of them, and then I ended up rubbing it out so you could still see through. But that was kind of the idea of this. And then the words were, instead of believing those lies, these are the words that we believe of ourselves. We're worthy, we're restored, we're known, we're clean, all the things that, who we really truly are in God. So.
It's a very, really deep beauty to this piece.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Thanks.
So, next to me here is this piece that has a poem connected to it. And this looks very reminiscent of Central Valley. I see the Blossom Trail unfolding right in front of me. And there's a series of these that we'll kind of pass through this evening. On wood, with a kind of dark outline as a theme that runs through it. Tell me, kind of first of all, how the whole group works together, and then let's talk about this one.
Sure. I've always liked this book called The Prophet. It's something that I think most people read it in college. It's just stuck in my mind because it's a book of poetry all about just normal everyday things. Like this one's on giving, there's one on clothes, one on beauty, one on love, one on family, one on friendship. So this one's on giving, and it's talking about how when we give, we want to give from an abundant heart, it's that thing. And it talks about how here, let me see, it says, you often say, I would give, but only to the deserving. And the trees in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give that they may live, for to withhold is to perish. Surely he who is worthy to receive his days and his nights is worthy of all else from you. So it made me think of the 15 years that I lived in the valley. It's just the orchards and all of the abundance, that they're giving, that because that's what life is,
Right.
Yeah. So that's a good example to me of what real giving is.
That's a great connection to kind of our local.
Yeah.
It's our economy. It gives and gives
it gives and gives and gives, yeah.
So I'm going to kind of circle around straight across here. From that kind of piece to this really vibrant and active thing. It's called Wisdom is a Garden, and the name intrigues me.
Yeah. Well, I put underneath here, I plastered Proverbs and some Psalms because I ran out of Proverbs. And then you see a Timothy over here. But it was supposed to be all Proverbs because Proverbs is a book of wisdom. And actually, there might even be some Ecclesiastes in here because, in the Bible, the book of Proverbs is a book of wisdom. And, a lot of it is, if you are wise, then you will prosper. If you are, good, then you will be, have a happy life. And that brings life. Sometimes when you've done everything right and it doesn't go right, that's when Ecclesiastes comes in. And it's wisdom after wisdom, and it is still wisdom because you're still walking in a way that you're looking at your life and you're doing things on purpose, and then you're looking at each situation and asking, what is wisdom here? What is right here? And maybe sometimes it doesn't go by the book, but it is still wisdom, listening to the Spirit. So yeah.
Something caught my eye randomly about this piece.
Yeah.
There's this really moment of jagged edge right here, and I think I thought to myself, that's how wisdom works,
Yeah.
right? It has jagged edges
Yeah.
because it doesn't always
It's
come
not
out
perfect.
in the nice box like
Exactly.
I think my wisdom does.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of painting like this, and I realized I just wanted to just go for it. It was kind of like, like put it on there and just let it be, because it's, yeah, exactly that. It doesn't always end up, and the more years I live, the more I realize, like, some people do it exactly perfect and do all the rules, and it doesn't work out. And then other people do it all wrong, and things are fine with them, and they're happy, So it's not always exactly,
Right.
straight and by the book. It is by this book, but it's not by our rule book, So yeah, I appreciated the freedom to just put it out
I
there.
think the jagged edges add to the vibrancy of the rest of it too as we walk through that, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it shows this so.
Yeah.
On a gut level, I feel this.
Good.
Super cool.
Good.
Super cool. Here again, vibrant. We got vibrant thoughts from vibrant.
You know what? I did do this one like back in those days up above the Visalia.
Oh, this one?
Yeah,
Okay,
this is the one.
Visalia piece.
Yep, my husband
Locals, the Visalia piece right here.
Yeah, I did that one. It's been in my husband's office for a while. I did that one, and I was thinking about the body, and what I've been learning a lot about the body in the body, our body, and the body in general, the body of Christ, the body of the world.
Body of humanity.
Yeah, of humanity. I think we think of it as a machine. I think sometimes we think that we, are mechanical, and if we just get it right, then we'll be healthy. And I think this was trying to express, like, it's all just it's all intertwined. We are not just a body, we're a body and a mind and a spirit, and we're all of those things are intertwined. So when we work together in our own bodies, we have to have health in all three of those places, and also within the body of Christ and within the body of humanity. Like, we're not mechanical. We're humans, and we need to work together in a way that's organic, yeah.
Where it would be gears that are finished edge here, but then they kind of blend.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's something really textural about this. There's kind of a tire print along here.
Yeah. I think there's about 4 paintings underneath that one. I reuse things.
Da Vinci, you're in the same company as Da Vinci.
Yeah, well, you know what I have to say? Like, this is one of the things I always say at my painting parties is when I first started painting, I was a little nervous. Like, I'm not sure how. I felt like I would start a painting and then I would feel like, I'm not sure, this isn't really right. And then I would scrap it because I thought, oh, this isn't right. But early on, I found a video. It was like Picasso in the 1950s, I think. 50s or 60s was he? Both.
Yeah.
Well, this was like a time-lapse video of him painting on a piece of glass, and so you could see him and you could see the painting. And it was like a bull rider, and the guy was on the bull, and he had a red jacket on, and then he was sitting on the bull, and then a minute later, it was the green jacket. He changed it. And then the bull was like this, like, wah! And he was doing this, and then one leg was over on this side, and then the other side. He just was changing it and changing it and changing it. And I thought that gave me permission to say, okay, well, I didn't really like that. If it works for him, I can fix it. I can keep messing around with this painting until I like it. Yeah.
That's cool. I often tell, when I do those paint parties too, and I often tell people, it's just paint.
Yeah.
Do it and make a mistake and live with it a little bit and change it. It's just paint. There's more.
Yeah.
So behind us is this lovely gilded tree, and directly across the gallery from it is kind of a foil to this piece. And there's got to be a story there.
Yeah. Well, I painted that one, the far one first. And I did that in a time when I was, we're in transition in our family and our business, and there were some times where we were feeling pretty, I don't know if betrayed is the word, but kind of a lot of stuff was going on. And so I felt like the abundance and I'm going to cry a little bit, but the abundance and the goodness, that is the truth. I was really meditating on that. And so this is a painting of, like, I just love trees in general. I think they just show life, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's the fractal of it all. It's the imperfectness of it all. But yeah, so that was like coming out of me during that time. So
interesting that you say it was in kind of an unsettled time.
Yeah. Because
almost the main feature to me is the roots.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel unsettled, but I feel like I'm not shaken. I'm just unsettled. And it's more that I feel like there's been a time where even in the hard things, I'm just so aware of goodness and beauty. It's like rich with that. And that's what I was portraying there. I just feel rich with beauty and and it's restful, and I think there's always a little bit of a meditation of the thing that I need coming through. So I wasn't feeling at rest. I was feeling a little jittery. But I when I look at that, I see some, like, a lot of rest.
And so
this
counterpart
is the opposite, right? So then a couple months later, we went through, through the fire, and we're on the other side, and now we're building in new things. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to make one that's exactly opposite. And even more.
The gold is growing. On
even
the
more.
There,
yeah.
And here now the gold is the environment.
Yeah. It's like, this is where we live. Yeah. And it's in me, and it's around me, and it's all around. Yeah. So that's kind of where I felt. And the roots are even bigger. Yeah. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
That was a working out of myself. Yeah, definitely those two.
It's one of those wonderful stories.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Okay, so we kind of passed through this kind of moment, and there's a couple of pieces here. I'm going to go here, because we've been...
The sexy one?
We've been all church girl here for a minute. And then I look over this very sensual piece here, and I think, okay, tell me that story.
Yeah, well...
or maybe not tell me that story.
Yeah, you don't want to know all of it, probably. No, but yeah, I think this is a very important part of life. And it's a beautiful part of life. And one of the poems in that book is about it. So I just thought, I'm going to just go for that.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I don't even know what...
The fluidity of the piece is really lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the other piece opposite is musical?
Yeah, actually it's about work.
Is it really?
Yeah. I just think it's a beautiful poem about work being like a song. It's, let me see if I can find the part. If you want to look it up, it's in the Prophet. Khalil Gibran wrote it. Is it down there? Work is love made visible. If you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it's better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who would work with joy. For if you bake bread with indifference, you bake bitter bread that feeds but half a man's hunger. And if you grudge the crushing of grapes, your grudge distills a poison in the wine. And if you sing, though as angels, and love not the singing, you muffle man's ears to the voices of the day and the voices of the night. Anyway, earlier it talks about how when you are working from a heart, that's like work is a blessing. Work is what gives you joy. So yeah. I think it's cool because it doesn't look like work to me. It looks like fun to me. It looks like beauty to me. Yeah.
Except playing the flute for me would be a lot of
hard
hard
work. Oh, it would be hard work, yeah. That's very true.
Happen.
That's very true.
Totally could make that happen.
Yeah.
All right, so, we're in this space, so I've got kind of the poetry pieces. There's two kind of walking images here. Mm-hmm. I like them side by side.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this one's about clothing.
Oh.
Talks about not wearing clothing to cover something because you're ashamed, but wear clothing because it's an expression of beauty and not being ashamed of your body. Walk in the grass with your bare feet, and I just think that's a beautiful thought. So we didn't go the naked body; we just did naked feet. We did naked bodies over there. No problem. Yeah, and this one's on friendship, so I just love the picture. I actually was trying to do. I started out with 2 boys, and then I was going to do a grandma and a grandpa, and it ended up being I think it's a grandma, a mom and a grown son. I don't know.
Okay.
So
maybe that's reminiscent of your stage of life.
yeah, I think maybe I'm seeing that my boys are growing.
I saw 2 children, and then I saw 2 elderly people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I was interested in the ambiguity kind of that came out of that.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
And so, again, in the poetry pieces, scene that's
We got
familiar
Half
to the
Dome,
Central
yeah.
Valley, and above the Central Valley.
Yeah, and this one's about prayer. It says on prayer. Let's see. It says, I cannot teach you how to pray in words. God listens not to your words, save when he himself utters them through your lips. And I cannot teach you the prayer of the seas and the forests and the mountains. But you were born of the mountains and the forests and the seas. You can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen to the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence, Our God is thy will. Our God, it is thy will in us that willeth. It is thy desire that is in us to desire. It is thy urge in us that would turn our nights, which are thine, into days, which are thine also. And we cannot ask thee for aught, for thou knowest our needs before they are born in us. Thou art our need, and in giving us more of thyself, thou givest us all.
So how does Half Dome relate to that?
Well, I thought of mountains, and of course,
Yeah,
those are the mountains I know. I don't live by mountains anymore. I grew up in Minnesota, and there's no mountains there, even though on Little House on the Prairie, they have mountains. It's not Minnesota. It's supposed to be. But it's not. And then we moved to California, where there's just the beauty of nature is just overwhelming here. So down in Texas, there's no mountains either. But
so also in this space is a really lovely collection of pieces that reflect femininity, femininity, that's the word. Too many M's the first time. And womanhood.
Yeah. When I was thinking about this show, I thought I want to add. I love that book, and I had some pieces. Nature is important to me, but these women, I wanted to celebrate. Like all women are beautiful, and all women are strong. But just the nature of a woman is to be strong. But these women, you would never know them. You don't know them, but I know them, and I know that they all have a story, and they all have a strength in them that I wanted to celebrate. So, and I love that they have anonymity. You don't know. Yeah. You don't know why, but I can tell. Like when I look at each one, I'm like, yep. Yeah. Strong.
Well, and it leaves us to see it for ourselves
and see it in yourself. Yeah.
That's great.
I think that there's a piece of that, right?
See it in yourself. That's great. And this piece?
This is another one I did at the Current for Women. Okay. I did this one live, and we were talking about being grounded in hope and how when there's hope, you can thrive. So hope in goodness and God, and yeah.
Interesting how you use the word grounded, but the sense of the piece is flight.
Well, that's something I think is a truth of the world, right? When you're grounded, that's when you can fly.
Right.
Yeah.
We all have to be rooted to something.
Yeah.
To really
I think
be
when
free.
there's no boundary, when there's no grounding, it's like Malcolm Gladwell's book. Like it's what is that? Too much choice. It makes you paralyzed. So, yeah.
So while we're here, and before we move to another space, let's take just a chance to talk about your style. Because if I just kind of look around the gallery, there are a lot of different styles, a lot of different thematic collections.
Yeah.
How would you describe your artistic style?
That's always a hard question for me because I don't know yet. Maybe I'm still learning my voice, I don't know. I like symbol. That's what speaking of grounding, I think I ground myself to. How can I symbolize this bigger meaning that I'm trying to portray, that's important to me to say. And then sometimes that comes out like, soft and colorful, and then other times it's harder, and I don't know. I like to tell a story.
Okay. That's good. And so it looks like typically you tend toward acrylics in most of your work.
Yeah, I started with oils, but when I had little kids, it takes way too long. It just takes so long to dry, and the next layer you have to wait for a week to put a new layer on. So I just started with acrylics then, and I just continued that way. Yeah.
Good. And how did you move into the kind of the gold leafed editions that we saw?
That was just recent. That's what's coming out of me right now in my time of, I guess I need to know abundance. I think that's that's coming out of me. Yeah.
Super. Super. All right. So we've got this lovely collection of. I'm assuming those are peonies. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So these are.
And that's watercolor. So that's not acrylic.
Yeah.
We just talked about acrylic, and now we step away from
These
that.
are the watercolors. I like watercolors lately because I can take them with me wherever I'm going. So with an active family and going places, and I have I have 3 boys, teenage boys. So a lot of times they're doing and watching things that I'm not really interested in. So I bring stuff along and paint while they're watching things. Yeah.
Yeah, or playing Overwatch or
exactly, all the things.
Whichever the thing is.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Good. So that's nice. Watercolor makes it portable.
Yeah. Well, these came out of I was doing a commission for a friend, and she wanted peonies on her a large painting of peonies. She wanted watercolor. So I started with this pink one here because she wanted pink peonies, and then I happened to find. I asked her for a picture of the place where it was going to go, and she already had peonies all on the wallpaper and on her chairs. I mean, everything was peonies, and it was not that color pink. It was not going to work, so I had to start over, and it was much more gray tones and less warm colors. So I had that one, and I thought, well, I just used a light board and I traced it a bunch of times, and I thought I'm going to make a bunch of different colors.
Themes on the same.
Yeah, it's just like a theme on that same flower.
And as you enter the gallery, the first thing you'll see is a large group of water-reflective sky pieces that are on large panels. So that's an investment in work to work in that large panel. Tell us about this group of 4.
Well, I have to say that large scale like this is my very favorite to do. It makes me excited, and it comes out of me like with gusto. So, I was thinking about nature I've been listening to some teaching podcasts about nature and how nature reveals God, and nature is almost like the first incarnation of God in the world, and meditating on that and really sitting with the beauty of nature is calming to my soul, and it's bringing a sense of abundance to my heart. So that's what these are. And just the large scale makes me feel it. Like it just makes me feel.
So I notice about all 4 of these, there may be more, that there's water and reflection. Does that come from someplace too? Just a feeling.
It's just I didn't think through that. I just did it.
That's how it came.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's how it comes.
And a lot of them are kind of messy. I did have, there's underlayment underneath there, and I wanted to show that there's always more underneath. It's not just always what you see. There's more to be seen.
Under the surface, right?
Yeah, so if you look close, there's more under the surface, and there's some thin spots. And that's one of the things that I feel a lot. Whenever somebody says, I don't believe in God or whatever, I have a lot of questions. I've gone through a lot of doubting. I have a lot of questions. But the thing that I can't get away from is that there's been times when I know there's a thin place where I've experienced something, and you just can't take that away from me. It's not ever going to go away. That part, so I think of it as those, I know there's an old way of saying it, but the thin spots in the space where you can experience the other side a little bit. Yeah.
Let's meander right back up to where we started from. And let's just share a couple of thoughts as we conclude, and we'll stand in front of one of the smaller pieces. Let's look in the same group.
Yep.
For some thoughts, and then.
Okay, well, I'm thankful for this opportunity. Yeah, and I'm glad that we got to do this virtually. Of course, it would have been nice to have a party, but
sure.
What are you going to do?
I think in some ways you were able to give a lot of connection than we could have possibly gotten.
I agree. I agree. And I mean, the world is going crazy right now, and so beauty and abundance and goodness, like we need to just hold on to those things. We need to know that we're not going down the tubes. So that's exciting for me to be able to, even though that's going on, I can share this way. So
that's cool. Well, Sarah, thanks so much. I want to take just a moment to thank the sponsor of your show, who is one of our trustee emeritus here at the Art Center. Judith Althouse has sponsored this exhibit so that we could bring it to the community. And this exhibit will be open to the public, even though there are some other constraints in place. Our galleries are open to the public, and this is here through the middle of April, correct? So come on down, see it in person now that you've heard about it with us, and we'd love to welcome you. And thanks again, Sarah, for traveling all the way from Texas with the work and spending some time with us here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Great.
Oh, yeah. My website stuff. Well, you can go on my website and find my work on sarahgeesey.com. I'm also doing a Patreon page. I don't know if everybody knows what Patreon is, but it's a platform where I can interact with you in a more regular way, and there's a structure to it. So I'm doing some online book studies. I'm going to do The Artist's Way coming up this next month. So we'll do like once every 2 weeks, we'll do a book study. It's nothing pressury, but I'll do a video and we can do a live thing. I'm also doing online painting parties. So if you don't live in San Antonio, I'm going to try that. Yeah, there's different ways. So go to patreon.com/Sarah Geesey, and there's a bunch of information on there. And totally just email me or talk to me if you have any questions about that. So yeah, so that's my stuff.
While you're watching this, don't forget to follow us on all of these platforms
all the
that
stuff.
you're watching on right now. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.